Okay, so now we'll move into the practical parts of this lab. And the first part is where you're going to be using a ruler. A ruler or a meter stick. If you don't have a ruler, you can come see us and we will help you get one. You can borrow one. Um, so a ruler, you're going to use the metric side of the ruler. That'll be usually you'll have like centimeters or millimeters written on that side of the ruler. And usually on one of these rulers, you'll have numbers that are like this, 1, 2, 3. Those are usually centimeters. The numbers represent centimeters. And then the little bitty tick marks here, you have 10 of them, represent tenths of a centimeter or thousandths of a meter, and that would be millimeters. Okay, so the numbers represent centimeters, and then the little tick marks in between represent millimeters. So just give you a frame of what a centimeter is and what a millimeter is. A centimeter is about the width of your pinky, and a millimeter is, really thin. It's just a tenth of a centimeter. So a couple of things about your ruler. Let me make this ruler bigger. So many of you think you know how to use a ruler, but indeed you do not. So here's a 6-centimeter ruler, for example. If I want to measure something, say I want to have some length of bar and I want to measure it, I'm going to lay it up next to the ruler like this. Notice that I don't put the end of the object at the end of the ruler. I mean, that's just sort of a good guide for using any kind of ruler, because often rulers are beat up on the end and they don't make for an accurate measurement when the end is beat up, and that would introduce some amount of uncertainty into your measurement. So let's say this is 1 centimeter, 2, 3, and let's see. I'm going to just draw some tick marks there like that. You'll see why. So I'm starting right here. I'm going up to 3, and then I have 3.1, 3.2, and then this is 3.3. And it looks like my device sort of falls in between there. So is the length of my object 3.2 something centimeters? No, because I started over here at 1, so it's going to be 2.2. And I get that because I'm right here. I started here and in there, and I'm in between. And since I'm in between those two tick marks, it's going to be 2.25. Now, if I had an object that was right on a tick mark, like this, say if it was right on that tick mark, then that would be 2.20. So this last digit is always going to be 0 or 5. And you'll see that's true with the Vernier Caliper too, because you get to a point where your eye can't really judge the distance between those two tick marks. So you say, well, it's either right on the tick mark or it's not. It's either 0 or it's 5. Okay, so that's how you use a ruler. If you have issues with that, you just come see me. The Vernier Caliper, I'm just going to say a couple of things about this because there's a separate video for you to watch about the Vernier Caliper, and that's linked to you from Moodle. I think I say these things, but I'm going to say them again. You have several different things on the Vernier Caliper, ways to measure on the Vernier Caliper. You have this, which measures an outer diameter. You place your object there and you squeeze the jaws down around the object, and that measures the outer diameter. This, if you want to measure the inner diameter, say of a cup, for example, you place the cup over those two jaws, and then you squeeze it out, and then that measures the inner diameter. And you should note that this distance right here is the same as this distance. So the reading that you have here will be the same whether you're measuring an outer or an inner diameter. And then the Vernier Caliper also has a depth gauge, and that's right here. So let's say you have a cup and you want to measure the depth of it. You put the cup on the end of the caliper, like rest it on the lip, and then you can measure this distance, which by the way is the same as this or this. So that's how you use a caliper. Very important for you to use a caliper. You need to know how to read a vernier scale, which is here, and as I said, there's a separate video for you to do that. Okay? And then third, you're going to make your own measuring device. So you might take some object in your house, like your pen, for example, or your arm, or your foot, and then measure the dimensions, the length and the width of any object. Okay, be creative with it. You can use your whole body as a measuring device. You can use your cat, well maybe not your cat because they move around too much, but you get the idea that you can use a different type of measuring device. And Google Oliver Smoot and the Harvard Bridge over the St. Charles River for a good example of how somebody used a non-standard measuring device.